guys? Welcome to Fantasy Effect episode 111. We got an NFC North preview tonight. We have our own free Discord, a Patreon as well. If you guys are interested in that, please DM us on Twitter and or Blue Sky. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to the video. We are down one tonight. It is just McSpanky and I tonight. How is it going, McSpanky?
It's going, dude. Yeah, unfortunately, Holler had some family obligations, so he's not able to hang out with us, but that's all right. You and I can cover the NFC North, and dude, it's good. It's cold today. Dude, the weather's been
Really
crazy here. Yeah, dude. So yesterday it was like 80 degrees. It was like 85, and then today was like a high of like 53.
Oh, see, we just did that last week a couple
times.
There's
no reason for it.
Yeah.
So good times.
Yeah, that's terrible. We finally stayed consistent this week. That was us last week. I was in shorts one day on an install, and the next morning, like, my fingertips were numb. It was awful. Terrible stuff. I hate spring.
Yeah, dude, it's the worst. And then as soon as it gets like warm consistently, I'll be complaining about how hot it is and how I'm sweating every time I step outside. So
you won't catch me complaining about that. I like to just walk outside and just get a sweat and just hang out.
Get a good sweat going.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I'm at home. I was made for it. I think. I don't know. I love being outside when it's hot. Anyway, in the news, Mr. Derek Carr retired. I know Spanky is really hurt by that news. Former Raider great, Mr. Derek Carr. Will you be hanging his jersey on the wall behind you in your Wall of Fame?
I mean, I wouldn't quite go that far, but I'm a little sad that he got his career ended the way it did.
Yeah, it does stink.
Like, he's a good dude, right? Like, I have my feelings about him as a player, and what he did for the Raiders. Both good and bad, but he's a great guy by all accounts from what I've seen. And I was talking with someone the other day, and I was like, I kind of hope maybe he gets a role in like the media or something. I'd like to see him kind of be around the game still. I think he's an interesting guy. I think he's got a good point of view. Like I've heard some interviews where he's kind of chatted about stuff, and I think he brings something interesting to the conversation. I'd like to see him kind of be around the game more. I think the interesting thing is, like, who's going to play quarterback for the Saints? Is it Tyler Shuck? Is he going to start week 1? And like, how bad is that? Is it going to be okay? Like, on the one hand, he was a top 40 pick. On the other hand, it's like it took him 7 years to put together one decent season in college. So like, now he's going to magically have his hands on the NFL franchise and has the fate of their franchise on his shoulders. Like, it's interesting. And it's not like Spencer Rattler's like better. I mean, we kind of saw what that looked like.
Right. Yeah. The Spencer Rattler thing is
as a practice squad guy, right? So dude, I don't know. I think it's gonna be Shuck, but like, that doesn't instill a ton of confidence for Chris Olave and Jawan Johnson and Rashid Shaheed.
Even Alvin Kamara. Like,
Kamara's the one I actually think is going to be fine, because I think he's going to get like a million dump offs, and it's not going to look pretty, but like, it's going to. I mean, the points are going to count the same, right? Like,
it makes me just concerned at his age that he has to do that. You know what I mean? Like, if he could just be like helpful, you know what I mean, and just take it, like, because I don't know, maybe Shug walks out there and shocks everybody and has a cannon and just throwing lasers down the field and really spreading the field. But if he can't get the ball to Olave and Shaheed, and defenses just start creeping down, that becomes a lot of punishment for Kamara to take on over an entire season just at his age. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's bad for him or good for him. It just makes me nervous is all. But like,
I think he has a good enough arm. I don't think his arm is necessarily a concern. I think his decision making is a little more questionable. Have you seen that clip of him? It was like right after they like upset someone at Louisville this last year, and then they played Stanford and they lost. I think they beat like Clemson, and the next week he threw like 4 interceptions against like a 3-win Stanford team, and just like, and there was like one where he's like falling backwards and just like hucks it up to a defender, and it's like, dude, what is going through your head right now? Like, some of the mental processing is like, you've been in college for 7 years, you shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
But
Well,
we are, so we shall see.
There for 7 years, I guess.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, because he came into Oregon with Justin Herbert. They were in the same QB room together.
That is so crazy. Second contract, Justin Herbert.
That is the one. The same. Yes, that is the same one.
Oh my god. But so like I think maybe the Saints haven't like outwardly said like we're not competing next year, but maybe that's kind of the general rumbling in the building.
Yeah.
You have Kellen Moore. You just say, hey, they do the Texans thing when they took Davis Mills. And they play Shug for the year, and they're like, dude, look, figure it out, see if he has anything. This is the best we could do right now. You're not getting canned on this year. This is basically a free year. Do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what you got in Olave, Shaheed, Kamara, see what he has left. Look at the whole team, blah, 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 blah. And then the whole time, maybe we start to see some of these defenders like Cam Jordan, maybe they get a pick for him end of the season.
They're in a weird spot
or something.
Because they've never really fully committed to let's kind of transition and rebuild the team. And so they have this weird assortment of like Alvin Kamara, like Cam Jordan types that make you feel like they're competing. But then it's like you look at the rest of the roster and you're like,
is Honey Badger still there?
I think he's gone now, but
is Honey Badger gone? Okay.
I think I don't know offhand.
But the linebacker's really old too. DeMario.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been there. He's been
Honey
there
Badger is still there.
Jordan. Oh, is he? Okay. Yeah.
The
whole defense is like 12+ year vets that are just hanging on, man. Go play on a
They
contender.
signed Chase Young too, and like it's weird.
Chase Young sucks. He's always sucked. He's never been good.
Well, fair enough. But anyways, and then like the offensive line's not that great. They signed Brandon Cooks, which felt strange, but I guess they needed someone.
I wants to retire a Saint.
I would. And here's the thing too, like they spent a top 40 pick on Chuck. Like I don't think that prevents them from, let's say they have like a top 5 pick next year from taking one of the quarterbacks next year, right?
Nope. See Will Levis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and what did the Cardinals do? They took what's his face, that kid from UCLA, Josh Rosen, and then they took Kyler Murray the next year. So
immediately, and that was top
15. I think the Saints are in a position where it's like, hey, Shuck doesn't work out, we're gonna draft a guy, or hey, he actually ended up being surprisingly good. Let's see if we can't, figure this out while he's on a rookie.
Yeah.
So
more shocked if we get that one.
Same.
Should we move into the NFC North here?
Yeah, real quick too. Just Derrick Henry. He got a 2-year extension.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Which felt, I guess, fine. So he was set to be a free agent next year. This is kind of his last year on the deal, so he got a 2-year extension. Right. So I think there probably is a void year, and it's probably this year and next year, and then he probably rides off into the sunset. Is what I'm guessing happened here. But
this is a thank you, Derek, for what you did last year, what you're about to do now. Like
exactly.
Here you go.
And, like, do you think, is there any reason to think that we don't get that version of Derrick Henry again this year and next year? Like, obviously next year's tough, right? But like just to see what it looks like. But like as a 2-year like window for a guy, like you could probably get him fairly cheaper just because he's older. But like if I get 2 years of Derrick Henry as like an RB1, like I'm willing to spend a first on that, like a late first, right? Because he can win you a league.
Right. And I feel like I've been saying it for 3 years now, and I don't know why, but I just keep saying Derrick Henry is a freak of nature. He's just built differently than anybody else we've ever seen out there on the field, and it doesn't matter. Some people are just like that, and until proven otherwise, like I kept trying. The way I learned this is actually from Tom Brady, because I kept saying, because like the Patriots kind of have some of those down seasons, those down seasons on offense where they would kind of slowly, they were getting to like AFC title games, but they never looked good. And it was all like kind of crappy looking. Right before he went down to Tampa, I was like, dude, Tom doesn't have it anymore. It's just not there anymore. It's just, it's gone. And this is why it looks like this. Well, he goes to Tampa and wins the Super Bowl. And I'm like, Well, hell, Tom Brady obviously was not the problem here in New England, during that whole situation when we all thought he was in his downfall. And that's what I look at Derrick Henry and say, well, Derrick Henry seems to me like a freak of nature, and the only thing that is stopping him is nothing at this point in time, and it's himself when he decides to say, nope, I'm done. Well, and he might just say, I'm going to hang him up. He might not even have a bad season. What if that happens?
That's what I'm saying. Like, and so I was just pulling up his game log on PFF, and like he set a career high for touchdowns and yards per attempt last year. So it's not even like he's slowing down. He had career years, last year. So it's like, is there any reason to think that he doesn't just keep on trucking? Like, at this point, I'm willing to continue betting on him. And like, I know that he's an anomaly at this point, and like that's fine. Some guys, like you said, some guys are just different. And I'll take Derrick Henry all day, and I'll just let him die on my roster. I don't really care, right? Like I'm not gonna try to move him. He's unless my team's just horrendous, but.
Exactly. The only way Derrick Henry is leaving my team is if I think I'm missing the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay, so now that we've done that, now into the NFC North preview. Already upset. We are talking about the Bears first.
We are.
I don't know why we're doing that on the NFC North preview. That's neither here nor there, McSpanky. Let's get.
Oh, it's alphabetical. That's how that happened.
I don't care if this is the wrong alphabet. Wrong. No, anyway.
Well.
I'm just giving you a hard time. We got the Chicago Bears up first. They missed the playoffs last year. They are projected for a 8.5 win total.
Which I feel like, dude, the NFC North schedules are tough.
Dude. Yeah, the schedule release came out. It's so rough. We have a stretch that is at Baltimore, at Cincinnati, and at Kansas City, and I think only one game is not a primetime game, and it might be 4:00.
Dude, that's crazy. I know. I was I was looking at the NFC North schedule. I was like, dude, like, do you know the Lions play 7 of their 9 games are against away games are against teams that had double-digit wins last year, and some of that is because, and one of them is the Bears. One of the two is the Bears because and they should be improved, right? So it's going to be tough. Like, I don't think the Lions are winning 15 games again this year.
No, we definitely are not winning 15.
8.5. So to get to 9, it feels doable. There's a lot of pieces I like there, but it's still like, and we chatted about this offline a little bit, but like, how many times have we seen these teams that they look good in the offseason, they make all of these good moves, and people just keep hyping them up?
The Bears last year?
Going to be great. I mean, the Bears last year. And then you get the lights come on in the season, and it's like, well, this isn't kind of how we thought. And I could see that being the case, and they could be better and still not have a great like win-loss record because I mean, they have 6 games against the Packers, Lions, Vikings, who all won double-digit games last year. They play the AFC West, which isn't a cakewalk in and of itself. So I'll probably take the under, which might be a hot take there at 8.5. But what are you thinking?
Okay, let's see here. Bears, Raiders. Who are you taking, Spanky?
It's in Allegiant down in Vegas. I'm gonna take the Raiders, but I'm a homer, so that's just me. That game could be a shootout, by the way. Yeah, the Raiders aren't gonna play defense.
Right. I'm literally. I don't know. It's tough to pick right now. I mean, I got some for sure losses like Commanders, Ravens, Cowboys, Vikings. I always coin flip the Lions because that's just how I am. And it'll continue to be like that forever. They can the Saints. I don't know. They can probably beat the Saints. The Bears always have a good defense, so they shouldn't have to do much. The Ravens is a loss. Bengals is probably a loss. Giants. There's a win.
Like, where are the for sure wins on any?
That's what I'm literally
right. Like maybe the Browns,
Giants,
and the Saints, and
Browns,
maybe the Giants, but
Giants, Browns, Saints. Yeah, like Giants are the exact opposite of Derrick Henry and Tom Brady until proven otherwise on the where he can do competent things and actually win football games. Yeah.
Right.
Nope. No belief.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the Bears too. And however, I did my projections, and I projected Caleb Williams to be the first Bears quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards. I feel like it's going to happen. I feel like this is the year.
So? Is it because you predicted it? It's going to happen? Did you predict it last year? Oops.
Yeah, I did predict it last year.
You did predict it last year? Okay, so you don't have the powers. All right, because we've already.
I don't have the powers, but I do think. I mean, with a new pope coming from Chicago, I feel like this is the year, right? It's got to be the sign.
That's how they get it done.
That's how they do it. No, but I think realistically though, like Caleb Williams, like they fixed the interior offensive line, which should fix some of the immediate pressure up the middle that he had to deal with last year, which should help. I mean, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Colson Level, Cole Kmet. That's a pretty nice set of talent. I don't think it's not like great. It's not like elite or anything, but those are solid players around you.
It's not New England.
Yeah, exactly. DeAndre Swift is fine. I think Roshan Johnson's better than he probably gets credit for. I think the offense should move, especially with, let's just assume Ben Johnson has, competent play calling, which I think he does. I think sometimes he gets a little stubborn with some of what he wants to do, doing like weird stuff to be creative. But you probably know that better than anyone. But it's better than what they've had. You know what I mean? So
for sure. It should definitely be competent. As much as it pains me to say it as a Lions fan, as a football fan, I'm kind of excited to see what happens, because we've had all this hype for Caleb, since he was basically a freshman in college, that he was going to be the next thing. And, we kind of followed T-Law like that as well, kind of a similar trajectory as what Caleb followed through college. And we didn't really get that from T-Law, that superstar career. It's kind of the jury's still out. So I kind of, I don't want it to happen in my division, but at the same time, if it's going to happen, can it be it better be the greatest thing ever? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I better be just unstoppable. And what am I supposed to do with this, kind of stuff, not just kind of squeak by.
Sure.
But I'm kind of excited to see how it comes together. I don't think after this first year that all these receivers are still, probably DJ Moore, I feel like, is out the door after this year, even though he has his new contract. I don't know.
He's under contract, so they're gonna have to have someone eat that contract, which they might do. I thought it was pretty telling they weren't happy with their existing skill players that they spent two of their first two picks, which were top 40 picks on Colson Loveland and Luther Burden. It kind of gave me the feeling that was like, hey, we don't like what we have, so we gotta get some better guys in here, or some more guys in here. I think that was especially telling on Cole Kmet. This is just a guy who's kind of always been just he gets a lot of targets and doesn't necessarily.
We've always known that about Cole Kmet, though, that he was just a guy out there, and it was banking on volume for Kmet, and that was why. I always liked Kmet, because there was no other Bears tight end that was worth anything for 3 years.
Yeah, pretty much. So Kmet, I kind of have him dead in the water. I think Colson Loveland's taken over. I mean, you don't take a guy in the top 10 and not use him unless you're the Falcons. So I think
you should just pick good players in the top 10. You should try that one.
You should. And then I'm curious, how do you feel the wide receivers shake out between DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden? I kind of have a pecking order of DJ Moore, Odunze, Burden.
I completely agree with what you have here, with DJ Moore leading the team, Odunze second, pretty darn close to DJ Moore, and Luther Burden in third by a pretty, it's not a huge amount, but a good amount there. And I think that Luther Burden, with his skill set and the way he plays, I think it's pretty reminiscent of what DJ Moore is. And like you alluded to earlier, Spanky, with the top 40 picks on offensive weapons, and him and DJ Moore being kind of similar. That's why I kind of think DJ Moore might be on the way out. Maybe it is a 2-year thing. Maybe it's a 1-year thing, and they try to move on from him for picks. something along those lines. Definitely agree there, but I think the real big talking point here for the Bears is Rome Odunze. I know you want to get into some Rome Odunze. So without further ado, let's get into Rome Odunze, because you asked me to watch something. So I watched the video last night and gave you my thoughts too, and I'll bring them up just so I don't remember exactly what I said because it was yesterday. So why would I remember that?
Yeah. So this stemmed because pretty much in our Discord, and if you're in our Discord, you probably are sick of hearing us talk about it, but there's a lot of Rome Odunze discourse in there. I am pretty anti Rome Odunze, even though I have a pretty healthy projection on him. I have him just under 12 points per game, so it's not like I hate him and trying to bury him out of nowhere. It's just I don't see some of the upside that others see with him. And so the video I had you watch, I found a video where it was every Rome Odunze target from last year, and one of the big talking points was that he had the highest uncatchable target rate of any player last year. Going through and watching them, a lot of them, it just felt like it was Caleb made bad decisions and just hucked up go balls to Rome Odunze, which I don't think. And a lot of them too, there was he wasn't necessarily open. He had a corner kind of on his back, and then a safety kind of over the top, and Caleb just kind of hucked it long, hoping that Rome could do something. And to be fair, sometimes Rome did. I think he's a really good jump ball guy. I think he has good hands. I don't want to just totally slander Rome Odunze, but and then some of it too was Caleb he had a dude in his face and he just hucked it in the direction of Rome Odunze. And so, I think some of that is explainable. I think with my projection, so I have them upgrading to 121 targets, 72 receptions, 924 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which is a pretty healthy improvement from his year one. And I think that kind of helps factor in some of with a better offensive line, a better offensive coordinator and scheme, that kind of fixes some of those problems. And I think a lot more of his targets are catchable. But at the end of the day, I don't think Rome Odunze is anything more than just I think he's a good player, right? I think and I think he could be a solid wide receiver 3 on your team. I think because he was a top 10 pick last year, I think there's a tendency to say he should be a wide receiver 1 or a high end wide receiver 2. And I don't see that in his range of outcomes. I don't know what he does overly well to get him to that point. I don't think the volume, I think he's going to need a ton of volume to get to a wide receiver 2 status that I don't think he's going to get unless, and injuries happen, right? DJ Moore or Luther Burden could get hurt, and all of a sudden it's Rome Odunze only, or he's gonna have to get insane touchdown luck. We've seen that with some guys too, right? Jordan Addison comes to mind, where he doesn't necessarily get a ton of volume, but he gets a lot of touchdowns. That's kind of a path that I think Odunze could take to get there. I just don't think it's a realistic range of outcomes for him. I think he's more suited as a wide receiver 3, and I think that's a little bit frustrating for people that took him. I think he was going 106 last year in rookie drafts, 107, kind of in that range. And I think that might be a little bit frustrating,
so
right?
Taking Odunze over Drake May, I think. So
people
probably feeling that one right now. So pull up my notes. I think skill set wise for Odunze, I think his Pittman is his floor, and I think Devonta Smith is his ceiling. So he is at least going to be Michael Pittman in the NFL, which is a solid, serviceable player. Isn't going to elevate any quarterback around him, but I think if he reaches the peaks of kind of the stuff I saw, he could become Devonta Smith, and I think Devonta Smith can kind of elevate your quarterback. But I think Devonta Smith's a 1B, at most there, and I definitely think he's a chain mover for sure. I think the route running is, as advertised. It was crisp. It was nice. He breaks those routes off. He snaps them off. He comes back to the ball, all that stuff. I don't think he is a deep threat whatsoever. He does have some jump ball ability, but running by anybody or anything like that kind of felt like wastes of time. Also, along with the end arounds that they were handing to him, he does not have the skill set to navigate traffic. They threw a screen to him on one of the plays, and he literally took 2 steps full speed into the offensive lineman's back. Like, that's all he did, straight into him. Like, dude, like, that's your guy right in front of you. Like, the play just started. You just got the ball.
That coaching staff was so insistent on using him as like a deep threat and like an end around guy. And it never made sense. Like, that's not who he is. I think he is a good route runner. I think he can get open. I noticed a lot too with like he finds a soft spot in the zone and just kind of sits down and just he's got good hands and he'll just snatch out and grab it. Like, I think
the catch radius is huge.
Yeah. And he made some nice contested catches too. Like, there was one of his, like, he only had 3 touchdowns last year. One of them was like a really nice ball in the corner of the end zone where he like caught it in the air and then like immediately looked down and like figured out how to get his feet in. Like, that's pretty special, right? Not just anyone can do that. And so I think there is some element to his game that can be a successful NFL player. I just don't know if it's like super fantasy, friendly. There's always going to,
I'm more along the lines of I am definitely more wait and see and pinning it on the last coaching staff and the just complete
they didn't do him any favors.
Utter like dysfunction debacle that was happening last year, like in Chicago. And like you said, like when he gets that end around, like the dude is not navigating traffic as a runner. Like that's not his game. Like he's catching it, and like if he breaks the first tackle, he's gonna go for some yards, but he's not juking anybody out. He's not stiff arming anybody to the ground. He's not spinning out anything. Like that's not he's none of those things. That's for sure. So let's stop at the end arounds. Anything else about the Bears? We spent a lot of time on the Bears, didn't we?
We did spend a lot of time on the Bears. One thing too, Luther Burden, I think he has kind of like I don't think he's Zay Flowers necessarily, but I think he has like some potential to be relevant in that offense. I think Ben Johnson will figure out a way to use him. It seems like that was kind of one of his handpicked guys. So I assume he has a role and something in mind for him. I don't know what that's going to look like in terms of like fantasy production, but I think he'll be fine, right? I think there will be weeks where he's startable, probably flex worthy.
So I will say real quick, I no idea how Ben is going to run his camp, but when Dan Campbell came on before Sam Laporta's rookie year, a couple of the beat writers, like Sam Laporta's torching camp. So I think if you hear any of these rookies, torching any of these camps or actually, excelling in practice, I think it's a possibility that, there's a little bit of fire behind that smoke, and might be, good cause to get a little bit excited,
we heard about Jahmyr Gibbs too, didn't we? Before camp, and then
Gibbs,
they came out the first month of the season. They like
too.
refused to use Gibbs for a while. He would like rip off.
Oh,
and then they'd be like,
No. Gibbs didn't get hype like Laporta. We're talking about JMO, like the JMO hype last year.
The JMO hype was, and they're on the JMO hype again. I guess we can get into Detroit while we're here.
Since we've segued that way, so just pay attention for Luther Burden, Colston Loveland hype. That will probably let you know. I also will say that in Detroit, if they don't feel a rookie's ready, like he's not going to be out there on the field, for any stretch of time. That's why it has taken JMO so long to get out there. So if Burden or Loveland are not ready, and Ben Johnson does not want them out there, they will not be out there. He is one of the big reasons that it took JMO so long to get onto the field. So hopefully they're smart guys. Loveland probably is.
Loveland's a Michigan guy. Yeah, I was gonna say he's probably fine.
Loveland's probably smart.
Missouri's a decent academic school, I think. So I think
there's some guys from like the Athletic that so they're probably smart guys. That if you work at the with Athletic and that's where you went to college, that means you're smart.
Exactly.
That's what I learned today. Science, exactly. Okay. All right. The Detroit Lions. We went 15-2 last year. We were projected for 10.5 wins. I have a tough time seeing it, but I've been a Lions fan for a really long time.
I would take the over on that. And that's more just as I've watched these Dan Campbell teams, like even when they were bad, they were fairly competitive. And I think they have a knack for finding ways to win games.
The problem is we're playing all the good teams, though.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
All right,
but you also get Hutchinson back. I think the offense is still good. The one kind of worrisome thing is that losing your offensive and defensive coordinators. There's a decent amount of turnover there. What does that look like? I think you guys, remind me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys hired guys within the system, kind of promoted them for OC and DC, right?
Both of them. The OC, Scotty Montgomery, was with Sean Payton in Denver, but he was with Detroit in Dan's first year. So it's not his first time around the block here. And he was with Dan in New Orleans as well, too. So they're pretty familiar
so
with each other.
There's some continuity. That was more my thing is like, yes, they lost some guys, but I think they built up a good enough culture that I don't think it's going to be like a huge, like, oh my God, the floor falls out from these guys.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't think the floor would fall out. Like, and I totally agree with you. Like, they're always going to play hard, and I think they're going to be in all of these games.
Sure.
I'm just wondering if we have the stuff, to just put it over the top there, and maybe getting away from some of the things that I didn't like about Ben Johnson. Like, sometimes we got a little bit too gimmicky at times, where it was like, dude, like, we have like the offensive line and David Montgomery. Like, why aren't we just like pounding this into people's faces and just like holding on to a 21 point?
For sure.
No, like we're letting J-Mo throw a pass. But like, it's fun and it's cool when it works. But
there were definitely things about Ben Johnson. He gets a lot of credit for being creative, which he definitely is. But sometimes it's like, dude, you have the best offensive line and an absolute bruiser in Montgomery. Just pound the rock for a little bit.
Yeah, at some points in time, I've been smarter.
The offense should be great again. I think the defense should be able to play a little bit more complementary football and actually get some stops now that you get some guys back off injury. I mean, that's not to get into like a defensive thing, but they need a secondary edge rusher to help with Hutchinson.
That would be great, and as long as we don't have another 19 guys going to IR along with Hutch on the defensive side of the ball, it should be helpful too.
Like, yeah, that's a solid roster. I kind of expect most of that offense to look pretty good. And everyone, I mean, you think about Jared Goff, Montgomery, Gibbs, St. Brown, J-Mo, and Sam Laporta. Like, I think they're all we kind of know what they are, and I think there's no reason to expect them to get that much different workloads and kind of fantasy points as they did the last couple of years, right? Like, do you think I think the only one realistically is that, like, I think J-Mo could probably be better than he's been because he's not going to be suspended, hopefully, right? And so if he has a full year, I think he has a chance to kind of take a next step there. But I mean, I think Goff is in line for 4,400 yards and 30 plus touchdowns again. St. Brown's going to get his. I think Laporta's going to do his thing where he gets a lot of touchdowns. Montgomery and Gibbs. I think some of the Jahmyr Gibbs stuff, I think people are remembering the end of the regular season last year, but like, it's important to remember that Montgomery was hurt those like 3 games. So like, he's not going to get all that volume. Like, Montgomery's a good player. He's going to get a lot of volume. But that said, like, there's no reason to, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is our running back 2. The only like real like rookie and like newcomer they have is Isaac Tesla. I think he's going to be a nice kind of role player, and I think by the end of the season he might be able to kind of take over for Tim Patrick a little bit. But I'm not expecting anything like super fantasy relevant. But I think he's a name to keep an eye on, of like someone who, just like as the season progresses, you might be able to stash him like a taxi squad or something and just kind of see maybe you have something there. So yeah,
definitely agree. Just similar as kind of year in, year out. I think even though they're losing Ben Johnson, you do have Jared Goff, Dan Campbell. The whole offense is staying the same, albeit for one guard on the offensive line. Maybe both guard spots, but that doesn't matter too much when you have what you have on the offensive line. And like I said, I think Goff could probably call the offense. I won't say he could call as good of a game as Ben Johnson could, but he could probably call a similarly scripted game to what Ben Johnson would call in that offense, after being there for 3 years, with him. So not too concerned offensively either. I don't think we have to spend too much time in the Lions, as much as I wish we could spend, time in the Lions. Like, they're good. Try to get some Lions offensive players. If you want to, think that Tesla is going to be something, it's probably more of a year 2 projection.
It's more of a stash from like a deep roster.
Yeah, just watch for him catching some deep over routes or something and just like sprinting. That's what I see him doing this year. So
no, I like it. Jahmyr Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown are two of my cornerstone players that we have.
Yeah.
They're the only team that has multiple cornerstones as well, which is like basically like the highest
Laporta
level.
Get there?
No, he is a high-end starter along with Jared Goff.
Okay, that's fair. I'll allow it. Once Laporta has another good year, you'll bump him back up. It'll be okay.
Not everyone's a cornerstone player.
Well, everybody will be on that team.
They are for
yeah, in my heart they are. Anyway, now to the grossest team in the division, the Green Bay Packers. They were 11-6 last year. They are set at 9.5 this year. Like we said, it's going to be a tough schedule for all these NFC North teams this year.
Yeah, I feel more confident in the Packers over 9.5 than I do the Lions over 10.5. Just because I think to get to 10 I think the Packers can do that. I think Jordan Love was pretty banged up last year. I think the defense is.
Where's the log off button?
I know. Green Bay. I know you don't like this, but Green Bay has a really good team.
Go ahead.
I think Jordan Love is really good. He kind of took a step back last year, but a lot of it was, he got banged up in that very first week against Philly in the Brazil game, and I don't think he was ever necessarily right. And so
maybe he should do another jump pass.
He was still pretty solid last year. I think he kind of gets back to not quite as high as he was his rookie year, his first year as a starter. Obviously not his rookie year. He sat behind Aaron Rodgers for a while. Josh Jacobs is the one too that I want to talk about. I think he's like a sneaky bet to be the running back one in terms of overall for fantasy.
I thought you said their running back one, and I was about to be like, really?
Yes, he can be that Marshawn Lloyd. Josh Jacobs, he's been awesome. He led the league in rushing not that long ago when he was on the Raiders. He had that one bad year where he was kind of looking to get out from Vegas, and he was injured. But every year he's been healthy. He's been
looking to get out that year.
Yeah, it was just fair. Jacobs is awesome, man. I think I have him predicted over 1,300 rushing yards and over another 300 receiving yards, 13 total touchdowns. I have him predicted 16.5 points per game. So I think he's one that his value never seems to live up to where he is as a player, in my opinion. I think I agree. Fairly undervalued. I think he's probably closer to a top 5 running back than he is.
Let's pump the brakes on that. Let's pull the running backs up. Hold on. We can talk about it. We got time now.
You have time. So he's down at running back 15. I think he's closer to 5 than he is to 15. Some of the guys ahead of him, Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Quinshon Judkins, Kyron Williams, Bucky Irving. We can talk about that. Jonathan Taylor is probably there. Trayvon Henderson hasn't played a snap yet. Breece Hall. Josh Jacobs is
more rankings.
I'm reading from Fantasy Calc, by the way. So
hold on. Let me do that then.
But I can pull from my rankings. He's my
that's fine. I just like to
8 right now. I have him tiered with Kyron and Breece Hall and Marion Hampton, which I think is more applicable.
Running back 15. Have to teach me how to use this flipping site. Rankings, dynasty rankings, right? Okay.
Yes. So he's behind McCaffrey and James Cook and Quinshon Judkins. Am I crazy? Josh Jacobs should be a smash over any of those guys, right?
Okay, hold on.
And I know you have some Lions fandom that might be holding you back, but
no, I would take Jacobs over Monty. I love Monty, but I know, and I'm smart enough to know that one.
No, So McCaffrey and James Cook, and then Quinshon Judkins. Would you take Jacobs over those 3?
I'm gonna take Jacobs over Judkins for sure because I'm not a Judkins guy.
Okay.
James Cook is a coin flip because
really, why?
he's just slightly younger, and he is in the Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills, high flying, styling, profiling, not a Green Bay Packer tier. And usually someone takes it like when we're in this point, like somebody has either taken one or the other, so I never actually have to make that choice. Like somebody usually has taken James Cook long before I have to make that choice.
What about Breece Hall?
I'll still take Breece.
Because they're in the same tier for me, that's why I asked. And then what about Kyren Williams?
I'll still take Kyren.
Interesting. Okay.
I'll take Jacobs over McCaffrey.
Okay. So
I feel like there's somebody else that you asked on there too.
Trayvon Henderson.
Oh, okay. I'll take Travion.
Jonathan Taylor.
Taylor.
And then Bucky. See, Bucky's an interesting one because like he looks really good, but like I don't know, man.
I'll take the security of Jacobs.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Sometimes I'll lean more towards safety. It just depends on how risky I'm going with the roster.
Now, let me ask you this: like, would it surprise you if Josh Jacobs outscored all those guys? Because it wouldn't to me.
No,
I would.
No.
So then, what's the issue with taking them?
The value game's stupid. It's what I've realized over like the past
I think so
4
too.
to 5 months. Like the value game is like the dumbest part of like the entirety of fantasy football, and like because we can have these fantasy markets and everybody can say this is where they're drafted, but every single person has their own singular values that's no way quantifiable because I showed you a calculator that told you this is a good idea doesn't mean you're going to flip and do it. And like we're just like spinning our wheels trying to change each other's minds on deals that are going to screw the other guy over so I can get a better deal because I think this guy stinks. And I'm just good. I'm really just
on
hoping.
A trade calculator.
Yeah, it looks good on trade calculator. My roster now looks really super awesome. Doesn't score any points half the time, but I just made 30 rookie picks. What'd you do today? I don't know. I haven't paid for like a league in like 3 years.
Yeah, dude.
And I barely trade.
That's the thing. Is like if you give me Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry, it doesn't sound great on a your dynasty daddies, whatever rankings, right? Because the value they're gonna be like, well, they're a little bit older, but yeah, but they might be 2 of the top 10 scorers at running back in the league. So
for the next 2 to 3 years.
That's the thing. I think sometimes we get too caught up in this guy has he's younger and he has the potential to do something. Well, give me the guy that's actually gonna score my points. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at with Jacobs, and I think that's why I'm kind of pushing he's underrated a little bit, just because I think he's pretty.
I do think
consistently a top 10 guy, and he doesn't get value that way. He's down running back 15.
I do think there's a time and place to lean into like the youth movement, and it definitely is in that rebuild, productive struggle. But
Jacobs is 27. It's not like he's over the hill. Like he's got 3 good years in him.
Right. Oh, definitely for sure. I'm just like he's further down the list if I'm on that track, but also just more on like the whole strategy as a whole. Like you can't just willy-nilly be like, I need all rookies, all young players. Like you got to keep some good players, on the roster and not trade them because they're at their highest value. And I now have to trade them because they're at their highest value.
Right.
You could just enjoy it.
Rookies are fun, but Alvin Kamara and James Conner can win you leagues. You know what I mean? Right. And it's like there's a balancing act. And I think sometimes we go too far. Now that we got off on that side tangent, try to bring us back to that was my
Packers.
Fault. Packers wide receivers.
Yes.
What do we think here? Because they brought in Matthew Golden. They finally took a first-round running back or wide receiver. Sorry, the running backs are in my mind now. Jaden Reed. They kind of went out and basically kissed his agent's ass and was like, don't worry, Jaden, you're still our number one. Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson are there. Doubs, I think, is a better player. I don't think Christian Watson's really anything at this point. I think he's just getting ready to walk. Dontayvion Wicks gets a lot of hype on Twitter, but I don't think he's that great. He can't catch the ball. And then Tucker Kraft's a good tight end. Who do you think leads this team in targets and receptions? I have Jaden Reed, but I think it's pretty close.
Josh Jacobs for 500, Alex. I have no flipping clue who's going to lead this team. Like, it's almost fitting that they drafted Matthew Golden as their only first-round wide receiver, because he's like the one with all the with the largest questions coming into that out of that first round.
I know.
So like, is he a number one, or is he just another 1B to go along with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs? And I kind of lean that Matthew Golden's a 1B to just go along with their already platoon set of what they got going on here, because they took another guy too, the Savion Williams. And he's like the Dubs, like, or I'm sorry, not Dubs, like the Jaden Reed similar skill set, end around kind of guy.
I think he's more of like a stash for next year when they let Watson walk, and then maybe if they can't re-sign Romeo Doubs to a team-friendly deal.
Sure, and depth. I mean, you have to have depth. I mean,
you gotta have depth.
Jaden could get hurt. Like anybody could get hurt. So you gotta have useful players on there. But like, dude, I wouldn't be shocked if, now that I'm, it's gonna be Romeo Doubs. He's gonna lead the team in receptions.
Jordan Love likes Romeo Doubs quite a bit.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it is gonna be Doubs. And
he scores a lot of touchdowns. I don't know if he's gonna get
But we saw weeks where Jaden Reed didn't even get targeted.
Just disappeared.
Weeks. And he did that stuff at Michigan State too. He did that at Michigan State too. Like, that's not a just Green Bay thing. That's a Jaden Reed exclusive thing, where you'd be sitting there and like all of a sudden you'd think to yourself, like, geez, like, where is it? Like, is Jaden hurt? Is he on the field? And then eventually he would make a big play, like within the next few plays after, you start thinking about him, like, where is he at, right now? But still, he just pull that disappearing act from time to time.
And I think Matthew Golden is going to be. I think he's more consistent than what else they have on that roster. So I think he'll be kind of consistently there. I don't think he's going to be like their number one guy. The way I have it is I have Reed, Golden, Doubs, Tucker Kraft is like the 1, 2, 3, 4 in targets. But it wouldn't surprise me. They usually spread the ball around. And they run the ball quite a bit too with Josh Jacobs. And they have a good offensive line. Yes. So I don't think there's any reason to think that they won't continue to do that, because it works for him. And I think Matthew Golden's just like an upgrade over Doubs and Christian Watson, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And they play outside in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Right. And so after
they have to play in the snow one day. And
I was gonna say, after Thanksgiving, unless they're playing in Minnesota or Green Bay, in Detroit, where they have a dome, they might just be pounding the ball about 40 times because it's a blizzard. So
right, there is that chance.
There's that.
Yeah. Alrighty. The last team in the North, the Minnesota Vikings. They went 14-3 last year. They are set at 8.5 this year.
It feels way low, doesn't it?
The lowest projected out of
them and the Bears are tied for 8.5.
Okay,
that feels low.
I would guess it has to do with the unknowns of JJ McCarthy.
That's fair, but I mean, it's not. I don't think all that highly of Sam Darnold. He has never really done anything until last year either, and he looked pretty great.
Sure, but what was their over/under set at last year?
Oh, I'm sure it was low
coming into the season. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably something similar to that. Like, we're not talking like, does that mean Vegas thinks that the Vikings can't win the Super Bowl? With JJ McCarthy, probably not. No, but like, probably don't have the worst odds on that. But like, 8.5 wins, they're like, I don't know what JJ McCarthy could walk out there and be terrible, or he could be the next Tom Brady. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite the range of outcomes.
I'm leaning towards terrible.
Why? Are you just being a Viking hater, or do you just
no,
there's something you don't like about him?
It's not that there's something I don't like about him. Like,
so you're just a hater?
I don't know. I think he's a bit overrated for his time at Michigan, because somehow wins are completely a quarterback stat, and they won a national championship on the back and legs of Blake Corum and an offensive line that he turned around and handed the ball off. And did he make some throws here and there? Yes. But like, some
good throws.
He did.
Roman Wilson.
Dude. I don't know. I've seen him do some goofy stuff. I get to watch a lot of Michigan games, not because I want to, but because I live in Michigan, so they're on TV. And I've seen a lot of his plays, and there's just things I can't put my finger on it.
Michigan, but yes.
No, it's not. It's not a lot of hate watching. I do.
Oh, I do. I do.
Listen. Oh, you do? Freaking dude. Michigan fans are the worst. Michigan fans are worse than Green Bay fans. I'll tell you that right now, here, right now. Yeah, and like I really don't like Green Bay fans. I'd rather hang out with a Green Bay fan than a Michigan fan.
Where do you have JJ McCarthy right now? Like, where do you feel comfortable? Let me see if I can find the line.
Taking him. You've taken him long before I've even thought about it.
You don't get to take him because I've taken him everywhere.
I don't even have to think about him ever.
Baker Mayfield or JJ McCarthy?
Oh, geez. I'll probably take Baker.
Dak or JJ?
Dak.
Jared Goff or JJ?
Goff.
T-Law?
Silly question. Ugh. Probably T-Law, I guess.
Oh, you're a hater. Kyler?
I'm not a hater. I just I'm still taking Kyler. Are you going up the tiers or are you going down? I'll take JJ over Bryce.
I'm bouncing around. Michael Penix?
Bouncing around.
Trying to find the
I'll
line.
take JJ.
Cam Ward?
JJ.
Tua.
Tua.
Interesting. So you're a lot lower on him than I am, which I kind of knew, but
I'm just more risk averse at the quarterback position. I don't know.
No, that's fair.
Listen, he never threw the ball in college.
Yeah. He also never had.
I know he did in high school, and people can, and he has Justin Jefferson, blah blah blah. You know who else didn't throw the dang ball in high school? Freaking Anthony Richardson, or in college, Anthony Richardson,
so
Trey
different.
Lance. I know, it's so different.
So different because
I just
McCarthy
wanted to bring
actually
it up and say it.
played way more games.
I know, and he can actually throw the ball accurately, and blah 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 blah.
But
like one thing, what I do know about Jim Harbaugh is he does what's best for the team, and you know what he thought was best for the team? For JJ to hand that ball off 30 plus times a game.
Yeah, because
maybe put the ball in his hands. Maybe put the ball in his hands.
All right.
I'm just making arguments against JJ McCarthy. Just let me know.
That's fine. I think Kevin O'Connell is somewhat of a quarterback whisperer. I think he'll be great there. I think they have I think they have good weapons for him to throw to. Like, and I think they have such a friendly scheme that I think quarterbacks. Definitely. I think if there's one thing I know about McCarthy is that he can make the right reads, right? And then the run game. I mean, it's Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason. It's not like they're gonna run the ball about 1,000 times like they did at Michigan, right? He's gonna have to throw the ball, and you're gonna have to when you have Justin Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson, right? So I think he's set up pretty well for success. My only concern with them is like I don't have any drastic changes in like Jefferson and Addison. I think they are who they are at this point. Hawkinson, I think he kind of bounces back. I don't think he was right last year. I mean, he had the late injury in 2023. Yeah, so that he wasn't quite himself. He didn't come back, and then I don't think he was quite himself in last year. So I think he bounces kind of closer back to what he was before in 23. There's some question. I know Justin Jefferson's going to get his, but the other ones with Addison, Hawkinson, if McCarthy isn't who we think he is, I think those are the two that suffer is Addison and Hawkinson.
That's what I wanted to just bring up is like Jefferson, like you're saying, Jefferson gets his, but Addison, Hawkinson,
and then the running backs. I mean, Aaron Jones is how old is he now? 31.
Yeah.
And they brought in Jordan Mason. Like, I think Mason's going to be – I think he's going to get a decent amount of carries. I think they wanted someone to take some carries away from, I guess that was Ty Chandler. And it's like Ty Chandler just wasn't it. And they needed someone to help spell Aaron Jones, and they just didn't have anyone. So I think Jordan Mason's going to get a decent amount. I think Aaron Jones is a lot better of a pass catcher. Jordan Mason's not anything special when it comes to that, but I think Mason could be kind of a short yardage guy and might maybe sneak in. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 4, 5, 6 touchdowns because he's kind of a short yardage dude, and then Aaron Jones gets a ton of work through the air, and kind of some dump offs. But that's one interesting thing to keep in mind. And I think Jordan Mason, the one thing I wanted to say about him is like I think he's one of probably the top like handcuffs, and not to necessarily use the term handcuff, but I think like because he has a little bit of standalone value in that he can score touchdowns. But I think if something were to happen to Aaron Jones, like I have no doubts Jordan Mason can show up and be a really
dude,
good running back.
I would be
right?
thrilled.
Like
I would be thrilled at all my Jordan Mason, because how much did you pick up, from the San Francisco time, and basically thinking because you didn't move him after CMC came back, like, this is now dead.
Yeah,
this is now kind of second life at Jordan Mason. And I think he played good enough, like you're saying, like if Aaron Jones were to go down, you basically have a startable, serviceable running back 2 on a weekly basis.
There's some guys that I think he's one of the best, like kind of like the 1B kind of guys. I don't know if their starter goes down. He's one like I have no questions about, like, I can immediately throw him into my lineup and I feel good about it.
Yeah.
So that's one to keep a stash on. And I think I don't know what you can acquire him for. And like the other thing too is like how much left does Aaron Jones have in the tank? I think he's on his last year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so too.
Is Jordan Mason the starter next year? Not only may he have good value this year if something were to happen to Aaron Jones, but he could very well be the starter next year.
The starter in the way that Zach Moss was the starter for Chase Brown.
Interesting. Okay.
And had the injury not happen eventually, but had the injury not happen, he would have taken the job. He was taking that job. At this point in time, you got to know it. You got to know. You got to know, Spanky. I don't care. I wish the injury never happened, because now I feel like I didn't even win. You know what I mean?
Chase Brown's a better player. It is what it is.
Thank you. Eventually, he would have taken that job from him. But like that's what I think. That's how I think Jordan Mason is the starter, in the fact that like he's competent enough that we can hand him the ball and know that he's going to do the right thing. And as our rookie, exciting guy gets his feet wet, gets himself underneath him, and we kind of figure out what we got going on here, is, as we see him dwindle down, that guy is taking over. I'm looking up Aaron Jones's contract right now.
Okay. Let me find Jordan Mason. He is valued on Fantasy Calc around the 2025 312, which like, dude, that's a smash for me. I'm taking any rounder. I was gonna say, like, would you send your 2026 2 for Mason, or would you maybe say, like, if you did that, like, get Mason in a 3-back? Yeah.
If I get a 3-back, sure, and these are all assuming I'm contending strong.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I probably would. Because he's going to cost you more if he does take the starting job. Not much more. He probably winds up back at that, the 2 seconds. I mean, that's what I was trying to get him for what I was trying to get for him, I should say, when he was starting for CMC. Like, I wasn't late first was unrealistic, because we all knew CMC was coming back for that guy. You know what I mean? But if he's a starting running back, I feel like 2 seconds isn't like the most expensive ask in the world for somebody,
especially if they're late, right?
Yeah. Right, exactly. You're late twos. You're a competitive team. Come on now, fork them over to me, man.
Fork them over.
Aaron Jones is an unrestricted free agent in 2027.
Do they have a potential out after this year?
No potential out, but dead cap is 8.4.
Interesting. Okay, well, maybe not.
Yeah.
That said, I still think there's. I mean, Aaron Jones is 31, I think, and he's not built like Derrick Henry, so I think there's a more realistic chance that the wheels come off there. So I think
once a year.
I think Mason has it's in his range of outcomes that he could be like a pretty useful fantasy asset for you, especially if the offense is good, which I think it will be.
And like I know I kind of poo-pooed on JJ McCarthy. That's just more about my risk aversion at the quarterback position. Sure. And I basically like for quarterbacks, like I want Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, the top tier echelon of the guys.
But
and
it's
then
so hard to acquire them.
It is. It definitely is. And I just try to make sure that like basically I draft that way, or else I'm gonna wind up with like feeling comfortable with like Goff. And I'm very comfortable with Matt Stafford. I have been for years. Matt Stafford is like
that's coming to an end.
It is, but he's like the
Yeah.
Derrick Henry of the quarterback position. Like everybody has hated it for so long, and he's so old and so terrible. But like, dude's just putting up points still every single year. But everybody's still like, I don't want Matthew Stafford on my team. Well, why not, man?
I'm with you. But Geno Smith has been my vice instead of Matthew Stafford, just because
that's fair.
No one wants Geno,
and now he's a Raider too.
And now he's a Raider, so it kind of made me let him a little bit less, to be honest with you. But I feel like I jinx them when I take their players.
I get it. So. I won't play any Lions on DFS. I won't. Yeah. I won't do it. They won't be in my DFS lineup because I've like seen too many duds when I do it.
Yeah. So we're on the same page there. But yeah, I totally see what you're saying though. Like McCarthy's like an unknown, and he's a little bit more expensive than like a Geno or like a Stafford.
Exactly.
Like,
I'm just doing
you're getting what points you're getting, and it's like McCarthy probably has a higher ceiling, obviously, but like we don't know what the floor looks like.
Could be a lower floor at this point in time.
Could be way lower, right? We don't know. I think it's gonna be good, but
for what it's worth, I do think it probably works out at least to like a middle tier quarterback, like at worst. If it doesn't work out, that means that just like he just ain't it at all, and will never be. Like if O'Connell can't get anything out of him, and Minnesota in that offense with those players, like sorry, dude, like just wash your hands of JJ McCarthy.
I'm expecting him to be in the like high to mid QB2 range. So like probably in that like 13 to like 18 kind of fantasy points, which I think is realistic for him. I mean, that's basically what Sam Darnold was, and I think he can be Sam Darnold. I think he's more talented than Sam Darnold. So, and he's a pretty good runner himself.
Yeah, and I think for some reason we never touched on that. That is an underrated aspect to his game. Are the legs and the athleticism. He does have that. I will say that's when I see most of the goofy things happen for him, is when he gets out moving around and he gets a little loosey-goosey and, kind of maybe try to do a little more than he should. Hopefully he's cleaned that up, but
we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a ton
I'm ready
of
for the season already.
I am too. It's like, and it's like, so the schedule got released tonight.
Thanks.
There's really nothing until training camp. So we're until like end of July, we're basically just like, this is what we got. So
have fun arguing about Rome Odunze every single day until then.
I'm already sick of it, to be honest with you.
I stopped arguing about Rome Odunze at like mid-season last year.
I can't quit arguing about it.
I've basically just become the Simpsons meme where the guy walks into the room, takes the hat off, and then puts it back on and walks back out. Basically, that's just my life now. It's just me walking into just walking back out.
We're talking about this one. Odunze again. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, see you later.
Speaking of though, join our Discord.
Yes, please do. It is a fun place.
It is a fun place. We do talk about Rome Odunze a decent amount, but we talk about other stuff too. That's more fun. Yeah. And if you have Odunze thoughts, come join us.
Come tell us your Odunze thoughts. Come tell us your thoughts on your music, your movies.
Yeah, dude, anything. We got books and things.
Yeah, we talk about everything. Yeah, there are books allowed in our Discord. Our previous Discord did not allow books.
Yes.
They are allowed now.
So
I hope somebody stayed this long to make it.
Our rambling about books. Yeah.
Well,
that note, before we lose any more viewers, we should probably sign off. But that was the NFC North, and
that's it.
That's it. Peace out.